So in this two-part series on the truth about sweeteners, I'm giving you everything you ever wanted to know about sweeteners, and maybe even things you didn't know you wanted to know about sweeteners. Stick with me, it's coming up. So hey there, this is Lindy Ford, registered dietitian, clinical and functional nutritionist, and nutrition detective. So please subscribe to this channel and share this channel with the people that you love and care about. And also like this video if you do, and follow me on all the social media outlets on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of them. And our mission here, it is so simple. It's just so simple. It is to inspire you by revealing the truth about nutrition and health that leads you to greater freedom. Now, this is the first part of two parts on sweeteners, and you are not going to want to miss either one of them. I am actually going to be starting with the most detrimental of all the sweeteners, and I'm going to go to the best, and one that I actually use pretty much every day in very limited quantities. But the last one today is a very acceptable sweetener, so you're going to want to stay here until the end. Use even the best ones of these sweeteners that I'm going to tell you about today and in the next video sparingly. None of them are that great for weight loss. And once you reduce your sweetness, and I know how hard this is, I'm a carboholic. I love everything there is to love about sweet things. But once you start to reduce that, and once I did, my taste buds changed and I needed so much less of it, and things really got sweeter for me that didn't have a whole lot of sweetness to begin with. Like, I really love the sweetness of berries, and I never savored them before, and now I love them and I love the sweetness of them. So you're going to change if you reduce your sweeteners altogether. I do realize sometimes it's really nice to have sweeteners just to help us to get over our carb addiction. I know most of my patients are carb addicted and sugar addicted. So to get over those humps, those times when they really are craving those carbs, to have something as a tool or a substitute is really good. So we do use the good ones, not the bad ones. We use the good ones in moderation, but we really want to decrease all of our sweeteners, any of these. We really don't want to eat them in abundance. We want to eat them sparingly. So here's how I'm going to break these down today. You might even want to get pencil and pen if you have them, because it's almost like a chart. And what I'm breaking them down is by brand names or the types, the glycemic index, the percent of fructose, the sweetness compared to sucrose, and if it's blood sugar or keto friendly, and the suitability for baking and cooking, and price per pound. So I'm going to break it down according to all of those just to give you a comparison of all of these different sweetnesses. Now, glycemic index, what does that mean? Glycemic index is really on a scale of 100, which is glucose. Pure glucose is 100. It's 0 to 100. And it's really the relative increase of blood sugar 2 hours after we've eaten. So that it's the impact of blood sugar, basically. But that's not the only thing to determine if a sweetener is good or not. Yes, you want a lower GI, you want a lower glycemic index, but you also want to look at the percentage of fructose. We know that fructose is very damaging to the body. So I want to link a link below about fruit and fructose, and I want you to watch that because you'll understand more about what I'm talking about and all of the metabolic problems that come along with fructose, because it's detrimental to your health. And we also want to look at the chemical makeup of that sweetener and how processed it is. So there's all kinds of determinations that we look at when we look at a good sweetener. The very first one we're going to start with is high fructose corn syrup. Now, most of you know how detrimental this is. It is actually worse for our health than regular table sugar or sucrose. And the glycemic index is 68, which is relatively high, but it is 100% fructose, okay? And it increases inflammation, it increases all kinds of metabolic problems like the risk of obesity and diabetes and heart disease, cancer, fatty liver. I can link those links below. Please watch the fatty liver videos. Unfortunately, the problem with high fructose corn syrup is that it's a cheap byproduct of corn and the corn industry. And it's cheaper than sucrose. So it's cheaper than white sugar. And it is used in so many things. It's used in our sodas. Guys, cut sodas out. The regular sodas, just never drink a Coke or a Pepsi product or any of the affiliate sugary stuff. It really doesn't even have sugar anymore. Well, depending on what country you're in. Here in the US, it's high fructose corn syrup because it's cheap and it's just going to give more profit margin. So it's in baked goods and salad dressings and snack foods and soups even. So look, you've got to read your labels and see if it's in those products and get rid of them. This is one of those sweeteners that you shouldn't even fudge on. You shouldn't even have it in your diet at all. It is not good for you. Get it out of your diet. Number 2 would be sucrose, and that is just regular table sugar. That's the one we all love, including me. I am not going to lie to you people, okay? I am not going to lie to you. I love it. I've never met a grain of sugar I didn't love, but it doesn't love me back. It's kind of like a bad boyfriend. It doesn't love you back. But there are tons of different kinds of sucrose or sugar, and they're really all the same. There may be a little teeny tiny bit of health benefit in some of them, but they're pretty much all the same. There's your white sugar, there's your turbinado sugar, there's organic sugar. Now, does not sound great. It's sugar. It's sugar. There's brown sugar, raw sugar in the raw. There's something called sucrose, which is just cane juice sugar, which is sugar. The glycemic index is pretty high. It's 65. It's got 16 calories per gram, and it's 50% fructose. It tastes amazing, I know, but the health problems are very similar to high fructose corn syrup, but high fructose corn syrup is worse. It's all those metabolic problems that we're trying to get away from, and the reason that we even have sugar substitute. And number 3 are those true artificial, or I'd like to call them synthetic sweeteners. Now, there are more than these, but these are the biggies. These are the ones that are in like 95% of what we consume. And that is your Splendas and your aspartames. Let's talk about Splenda for a minute, okay? It's 600 times sweeter than sucrose. It's got a glycemic index of 0 and no fructose in it. So it sounds really, really good, right? Not so fast. Not really. The name of it, a commercial name of it, is Splenda. And Splenda actually does have calories in it, which sucralose doesn't, because it also has maltodextrin and dextrose in it. So it does have a little tiny bit of calories, 3.36 calories per gram. Is it keto or blood sugar friendly? Well, yes and no. Some people do use it on their keto diets. I tell people that is a bad way to do keto, is with artificial sweeteners and all kinds of other the inflammatory oils and those kind of things. The best keto people, the best ones that I read, actually do not like artificial sweeteners and do not use them in any keto program. So just remember that. One of the biggest problems with both aspartame and sucralose is the fact that there are rodent studies that show, and have been showing for a couple of years now, that they both have detrimental effects on the beneficial bacteria in your gut, okay? So they're not great for your microbiome. Now, if you can find a people study on that, please link it below. I'd love to see it. I could not find any people studies. I would love for them to do. I feel like they need to do something like that. But that's the biggest problem that I'm having with them. I don't like the chemical makeup. I don't like the processing of them. I don't like some of the anecdotal things that I think that they do, but there's no studies really to back that up. I don't love them at all. I hate them, actually. But it's the gut thing that really gets me. And here's the problem, beautiful people, is the fact that we need those beneficial bacteria to lose weight. So most of us are consuming this stuff because we don't want the calories, we don't want the weight gain, but they're messing with the beneficial bacteria in your gut. Yes, you can use sucralose in baking, but the problem, and it's like a one-on-one conversion, 1 cup to 1 cup, but here's the problem, is that there is some new research that is showing that sucralose, when it's broken down by heat, interacts with other substances that are harmful and can cause an increased risk of cancer. More research, of course, is needed. But I wouldn't use it. I would not use it in cooking, baking. I just wouldn't use it. It's about $10 a pound, and aspartame is pretty much the same, except it's not quite as sweet. It is 200 times sweeter. The baking is a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's about $11 a pound. Again, there are some small studies showing that it has no effect on weight loss. That's another problem with these artificials, is that they're really not showing the weight loss that we thought that we would have all this great weight loss because we're replacing the bad with the artificial, and we're not. And in some small studies, I've even seen a small increase in BMI. So it's not worth it. Here's number 4, and that is agave. Now, agave is made from a desert plant. It's the same plant that we use to make tequila. Now, a few years ago, when agave came on the scene, it's been around for really a long, long time, but it really got known a few years, maybe 10 years ago. It took the health world by storm. Everybody was using agave because of this one factor, and that is the glycemic index. It's fairly low. It's only 17. Remember that sugar's, up there in the 60s, and here this is only 17. But if you look further into agave, it's not as healthy as we once thought it was. It is 85% fructose. It really has none of the vitamins and minerals that it had before processing. We thought that might be a good thing about it. And the more fructose you have in your diet, the more metabolic problems you're going to have. It is sweet. It's about 1.5 times sweeter than sugar. There are no really specific brands of it. There are types, and they really are. They are categorized according to their color, like golden light. They have the blue, they have amber. It's fairly inexpensive. It's $5 to $7 a pound. And yes, you can use it for baking and cooking at 2/3 cup to 1 cup sugar. But agave is one of those things, if you're going to use it tiny, in a tiny amount. I wouldn't use it for big baking projects. I wouldn't even consume a lot of it because of that high fructose percentage. Number 5 is honey. Now, it has about the same sweetness. I think it's a little sweeter than sugar, but the experts say it's about the same. The glycemic index is determined by the type of the honey, and it's pretty broad range. It can range from medium to high on the glycemic index, and that is from 50 to 80. It's about 40% fructose, so not so bad. And it just comes in all different types. There's no brands of it. It just comes, it's a natural product. It comes in different types depending on where it's being harvested. It could be clover honey, which is the most common, manuka, wildflower, there's orange blossom, there's tupelo, just depending on where you're getting it. Honey is natural. I like honey. I think it could be really good if you buy it from a local place that produces it pretty close to where you are. I've heard that it has some anti-allergy effects on your body that way. And yes, you could use it in baking to about 3/4 of a cup to a cup. I like to purchase honey that is organic and raw and as close to that honeycomb as I possibly get. I do use it, but very, very small amounts because of the glycemic index. It can be pretty high for my body. It is not keto friendly. It's not really blood sugar friendly, but if you're using small amounts of it, it's a really good sweetener. The range of prices is dependent on the honey. It's such a large range. It can go from $4 for your cheaper honeys, your grocery store honeys, to upwards of $20 a pound. Now, I am just getting started. You are not going to want to miss the next video that's going to be coming out in a couple days. That's part 2. And in that video, my all-time favorite sweetener is going to be discussed. and I'm breaking it down again for you in that video, and please, please join me.